Hey guys, Red here, and the moment has finally come where Pyramid Head joins Dead by Daylight. Today's video isn't going to be me commenting on just the gameplay alone you see before you, but more so on my thoughts on a new killer, new perks, and the new map. I will relate to the gameplay here and there though throughout the video. I plan on doing one of these from a survivor's viewpoint as well, but let's go ahead and get into today's video. Pyramid Head's power is Rites of Judgment. I'll keep it on the screen for a moment for those of you who would rather read than have me go over it. While these paragraphs make his powers seem complicated, overall he's a really simple killer, and I'll do my best to simplify down what's shown. Rites of Judgment is your main power. Use your power button to create a trail on the ground. When survivors step on this, they'll be afflicted with torment. All torment means is that if you were put in the dying state, he can send you to the Cage of Atonement. The cage acts the same as a hook stage. Stage 2 is a little different as you have to complete skill checks to fight off the entity, and if the survivor is afflicted with torment and it would be their third hook or a third time sent to the Cage of Torment, Pyramid Head can instead perform Final Judgment, which simply means he can kill them outright. Once you are rescued from the cage, you are no longer afflicted with torment. The special attack or punishment of the damned can be triggered when you are holding the power button and then attack. This will send a wave out that will damage survivors in its path. This wave is not stopped by any terrain including walls, vaults, and pallets. I know it sounds a little overpowered, but I assure you it's not as bad as it seems. When it comes to a special shockwave attack, the range itself without add-ons isn't really that far, and missing a hit can actually give survivors a lot of time to reposition or move to a different loop. Make sure not to spend too much time trying to hit the shockwave, as they're pretty easy to predict in most scenarios, especially since Red Mist gives it away pretty hard. Now, unlike Huntress, there's a delay before it gets to the max range for the hit, and most times it's just easier to go for a normal hit. Though there will be times where you hit a survivor through a wall for a cheeky play, or maybe you hit 2 or 3 survivors at the same time because they run in a straight line, but there might also be a time where you miss the attack through the wall and now she gains a ton of distance. I can honestly say it has a risk versus reward system, and after a few games of playing it, it just feels really balanced. I'll briefly go over perks, though I don't feel any of them are all that great. They might be fun in some niche builds, but not any kind of serious play. Forced Penance applies broken status for 30 seconds to survivors who have taken a protection hit. Trail of Torment activates once you kick a gen, making you undetectable for 15 seconds, and can only be triggered every 80 seconds at rank 3. Deathbound, which is probably his best perk overall, goes off when a survivor heals another 32 meters away from the killer, and then after fully healing, the survivors will scream and reveal where they are for a brief moment. They then both will suffer the Oblivious status effect if they are away from each other. One thing I was really surprised about with this release is just how awesome the new map looks. The team of behavior that put this together paid a great homage to the Silent Hill in my opinion. The aesthetics alone make this one of my favorite maps. With that being said, it can be a very frustrating map to play on as killer, especially with how large the map is itself. If you don't have any slowdown perks, you're going to have a real rough time. Be careful of scratch marks as well on this map because they have an often tendency to actually turn into the rooms from the hallway, which can really be confusing here and there. Now, my recommendation for playing on this map as killer is to stick to the second floor unless you hear them working on a gen below. There's quite a few different ways to get down to the first floor, but it's very limited routes to get to the second floor. And the last thing you want to hear is survivors on a gen above you, but you have to go across the map to be able to find the stairs in order to go back and get to them. Did I mention it's a very big map? In this part of the video here, pay attention to all the rooms the scratch marks actually go into. As a tracking tool, this can and is going to throw off killers. And while scratch marks have been annoying here and there in other maps, this map seems to amplify the problem. Since Cheryl was recently hooked, it's possible she has DS, but since she is affected with torment, I can simply send her to the cage, which acts as a second hook. Sending people to the cage should always be used sparingly. You don't want to always send survivors to the cages immediately. It'll send them far away from your current position, and normally they will be saved pretty quick because of that. You won't be generating any real pressure. Good times to send people to the cage is when you're avoiding perks such as Unbreakable and Decisive Strike, or after you've slugged a survivor or two and can see the remainder survivors that maybe are close. Then the cage saves time and wastes theirs as they'll have to travel a distance for the save. If you're looking for a solid build to run on Pyramid Head, my first thoughts in the build I'm going to run first is going to be Save the Best for Last, Corrupt Intervention, Make Your Choice, and Barbecue and Chili. I also plan to mess around with Dark Devotion because imagining a stealthy Pyramid Head sounds spooky as hell, and I love it. One way I like to use Rites of Judgment is to block off areas or hook survivors, as when other survivors step in it, they will trigger Killer's Instinct, which is the heartbeat that Legion has when he hits you with deep wounds. Use this power how you see fit, but there's definitely some nifty strategies to it. As far as Pyramid Head overall feels, I think he's going to be a solid killer, and he's super fun, which is way more important to me than if he's good or not. He's also going to be a killer that has a few different playstyles and builds that work well with him, which is great in my opinion, as diversity and viable builds means a lot to me when I'm playing killer. If I had to put a rank on him right now, I'd say he's probably an A tier. Like I said, he's a strong killer, but he's not like good nurse strong, and I feel like he probably is going to fall right underneath Oni overall for me. But it's day one, and I could feel totally different a week from now. Something to know about the map layout, a lot of the rooms don't actually connect to each other, and there are numerous moments where I actually catch myself going inside the room to try and catch a survivor off guard or to actually come off from chase in general, and I would just be greeted by nothing but wall. There does happen to be a set of rooms that create this sort of god loop, as a vault or a pallet is the only thing that connects them. Oh, and for whatever reason, survivors have been trying to hide next to the lockers all day for me today. And you guys know we don't let them stealthy gamers get very far. There is honestly no reason for me to use the Rites of Judgment here, as it does nothing but decrease my movement speed slightly, but I just feel like it's super satisfying to use in general. The hallways on this map are honestly the real killer here. I would recommend doing your best to avoid roaming the hallways to try and find survivors, as they will definitely see you coming from a mile away and use that distance to waste a huge chunk of your time. I will say I like the pathing that is left by the survivors if they're afflicted with torment. It just adds to a little bit of flair to it all. Since Cheryl is on her last hook and is afflicted with torment, I can now just kill her. I really enjoy this aspect, as I feel all killers should have their Mori, or maybe something along the lines of killing the survivor in general, built into their kits. To me, that's just a lot of fun and adds more spark to the game. That and Moris overall should only work after the second hook in my opinion, but that's just me.
As it gets later in the game, Rites of Judgment becomes an even better awareness tool, as you can place it around gens. Don't get too close to the gen when doing so though, for when you do, it won't stay on the ground and then it's not really effective at all.
Something I've learned outside of the video itself is that it almost is better to just hold your Rites of Judgment when chasing. Kind of like holding a hatchet, the survivors will tend to go left and right instead of away from you, allowing you to close the distance. And distance in this map is a big deal with how fast gens can go on a normal map. With me missing my special attack at this point, it's going to cost me a ton of round, when I could have kept walking around and most likely ended the chase. With all the walls and rooms and upstairs and downstairs, it's very easy for survivors to break chase, which means you can't really ever expect to rely on bloodlust, even during a straight pathway like this. I find myself having to break chase quite often on this map, because if I do make a mistake at a loop, it can be super detrimental to keep chasing. So when playing here, definitely keep your mind on time spent during a chase. I'm also going to jump around a little bit in the video, because the last few minutes of this game are really more like stealthy gamer moments, so be ready for that. One thing that I'm really looking forward to playing on this map is definitely Scratch Mirror Myers. While he's going to have a rough time traversing the map because of his movement speed, there's so many ways to sneak up on survivors and get them jump scares. It's going to be so much fun. I've also thought about bringing in Distressing to the map that can sometimes act just as well when it comes to catching survivors off guard. With the map being so large like this, if you're playing a survivor and you like to be more of a stealthy playstyle, this map is 100% going to be right down your alley. So many rooms and objects to hide around, and I can see where the hide and seek portion is going to be really fun to play with. I'd rather have that for sure than super efficiency on gens, but I will find you, and I will smack you with whatever weapon I can get a hold of. Since Pyramid Head has a good chase potential in my opinion, I feel insta-down perks like Make Your Choice are going to feel great on him. Especially if you start mixing it together with maybe like Infectious Fright and try and snowball from there. Again, I just love the idea of build variety here. During chases, he feels a little bit more like Spirit, where he has lots of options at his disposal, whether that be a special attack or putting Rites of Judgment around the whole loop, or maybe even faking the special attack and scaring survivors away from the pallet, or making them make a misstep which causes you to get a hit. If you are trying to use his special attack and want to have a little bit more control over its direction, you will want to stand still. This will give you a little bit more flick potential, but remember the red mist can still hurt you, but it's doable. Breaking the wall here is a great way to counter out that vault, but unfortunately you can't break it during a chase as you'll just be giving the survivor more time to gain distance. I don't know really any walls on this map that aren't worth breaking. I would just go and break them if you ever have a moment of downtime. One of the changes I would make to this killer though is how his cage interacts with the last survivor. For those of you who don't know, if you're the last survivor and get sent to the cage, you're going to have to wait out the timer and die that way instead of dying immediately like you would on a hook. If you're playing Pyramid Head and not having to worry about DS or a toxic survivor, I would just hook the last survivor. It's a respect kind of thing. I plan on putting a lot more time into Pyramid Head over the next few weeks and trying out some new builds and maps, so be ready for my page to have a decent amount of content for Pyramid Head over the next week or so. And if you have some build ideas that you want to see on him, let me know down below so I can start playing around with it. I still have to go through all the perk webs just like everyone else, so it takes time to get those. After this video, I should have a no commentary video out with just in a few hours, so if you want to just see gameplay, it'll be there. I have a lot of different projects I'm currently working on with big things like rank 1 mindset videos, a killer tier list, and some survivor videos, as I know you all been asking for them. Now, I'm also going to do my best at getting all this done on top of the normal content, and that's ideally my roadmap of June, so let me know what you think of it. Overall, I'm having a lot of fun with Pyramid Head, and I think he's going to be a fantastic killer, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope the video was fun to watch and educational for the new killer. Thank you all so much for tuning into the video. I hope you make those survivors atone for their sins. And until next time, I'm Red, and I'm signing off.